Cosmic energies refer to the various forms of energy that originate beyond the Earth's immediate atmosphere and environment, including solar radiation, cosmic rays, geomagnetic fluctuations, gravitational forces from celestial bodies, and subtle electromagnetic variations produced by planetary and stellar activity. Scientifically, these energies are measurable physical phenomena, such as ultraviolet radiation from the sun, charged particles carried by the solar wind, high-energy particles known as galactic cosmic rays, and the gravitational pull exerted by the moon and planets. Spiritually and philosophically, many traditions interpret cosmic energy as a universal life force that connects all living beings with the universe, often described in terms like prana, chi, or universal consciousness. From a biological perspective, the human body is not isolated from these cosmic influences. Every second, our bodies interact with sunlight, magnetic fields, atmospheric ions, and radiation from space. The most direct and well-understood influence is solar radiation. Sunlight regulates circadian rhythms through the suprachiasmatic nucleus in the brain, influencing sleep cycles, hormone production, and metabolic processes. Exposure to natural light stimulates the production of vitamin D in the skin, essential for bone health, immune function, and mood regulation. However, excessive ultraviolet exposure can damage DNA, increase the risk of skin cancer, and accelerate aging. Cosmic rays, which are high-energy particles originating from supernovae and distant galaxies, constantly penetrate Earth's atmosphere. Most are deflected by Earth's magnetic field and atmosphere, but a fraction reaches the surface. At normal levels, their biological impact on humans is minimal, yet they contribute to background radiation exposure. In astronauts and high-altitude pilots, increased exposure may raise cancer risk and cause cellular damage due to ionizing radiation. The Earth's geomagnetic field itself is influenced by solar storms and cosmic events. Fluctuations in this magnetic field have been associated in some studies with changes in human mood, cardiovascular stability, and neurological patterns. Some researchers suggest that geomagnetic disturbances during solar flares correlate with increased rates of heart attacks or mood instability, although mechanisms remain under investigation. Gravitational forces from the moon influence ocean tides, and while the human body is mostly water, scientific evidence does not strongly support dramatic lunar effects on individual physiology, yet circadian and circulunar rhythms may subtly interact with biological timing systems. On the positive side, cosmic energies, particularly sunlight and natural electromagnetic patterns, help synchronize biological clocks, enhance serotonin levels, improve mood, and support overall vitality. On the negative side, excessive radiation exposure, solar storms disrupting technological systems, and potential electromagnetic hypersensitivity in certain individuals are areas of concern. The human body is fundamentally electromagnetic. Neurons communicate via electrical impulses, and the heart generates measurable electromagnetic fields. Because of this, some scientists hypothesize that external cosmic electromagnetic fluctuations might influence biological systems, though conclusive evidence is still evolving. In summary, cosmic energies influence humans primarily through sunlight, radiation, and geomagnetic activity, producing both beneficial regulatory effects and potential risks depending on intensity and exposure. Solar energy is the most immediate and powerful form of cosmic energy affecting human life, and its influence extends far beyond simple illumination. The sun emits a broad spectrum of electromagnetic radiation, including visible light, infrared radiation, ultraviolet radiation, X-rays, and charged particles carried through the solar wind. Each component interacts with the human body in distinct biological and neurological ways. Visible light entering the eyes is converted into electrical signals by retinal photoreceptors and transmitted to the brain's suprachiasmatic nucleus, the master clock that regulates circadian rhythms. This internal clock controls sleep-wake cycles, hormone secretion, body temperature, metabolism, and even gene expression. Morning sunlight exposure triggers suppression of melatonin, the hormone responsible for sleep, while stimulating cortisol production, which increases alertness and energy. Regular exposure to natural daylight helps maintain synchronized circadian rhythms, improving sleep quality, cognitive performance, immune efficiency, and emotional stability. In contrast, insufficient sunlight exposure can disrupt circadian timing, contributing to insomnia, fatigue, weakened immunity, metabolic disorders, and mood disturbances such as seasonal affective disorder. Ultraviolet B radiation plays a crucial role in synthesizing vitamin D in the skin. When UVB photons strike 7-dehydrocholesterol molecules in the epidermis, they initiate a chemical reaction producing vitamin D3, which is later converted into its active hormonal form. Vitamin D regulates calcium absorption, bone mineralization, immune modulation, and inflammation control. Adequate levels are linked to reduced risk of osteoporosis, autoimmune disorders, certain cancers, and respiratory infections. However, excessive ultraviolet exposure damages DNA through the formation of thymine dimers, increasing mutation rates and skin cancer risk, including melanoma. Infrared radiation from the sun produces heat that influences thermoregulation. Controlled heat exposure enhances circulation, supports detoxification through sweating, relaxes muscles, and can stimulate mitochondrial activity. Some research suggests that near-infrared light may improve cellular energy production by stimulating cytochrome C oxidase in mitochondria, potentially enhancing ATP synthesis and cellular repair processes. This mechanism is being explored in red light therapy applications for wound healing and inflammation reduction. Solar activity also includes solar flares and coronal mass ejections, which release bursts of charged particles and electromagnetic radiation. When these reach Earth, they interact with the magnetosphere, sometimes causing geomagnetic storms. These disturbances can subtly influence human physiology. Studies have suggested correlations between geomagnetic storms and increased blood pressure variability, changes in heart rate variability, and even alterations in serotonin metabolism. The autonomic nervous system, which regulates heart rate and stress responses, may be sensitive to fluctuations in magnetic fields. Although research is ongoing and not entirely conclusive, some data indicate that geomagnetic disturbances may temporarily increase stress reactivity or cardiovascular instability in vulnerable individuals. Psychologically, sunlight strongly influences mood through serotonin production. Bright light exposure stimulates serotonin pathways in the brain, contributing to feelings of well-being, motivation, and emotional balance. Reduced sunlight during winter months is linked with decreased serotonin and increased melatonin, contributing to depressive symptoms in susceptible individuals. Light therapy has become an evidence-based treatment for seasonal mood disorders, demonstrating how cosmic solar energy can therapeutically influence mental health. At the cellular level, moderate solar exposure supports nitric oxide release from skin stores, which can help dilate blood vessels and lower blood pressure. However, excessive solar radiation increases oxidative stress by generating free radicals, which can damage proteins, lipids, and DNA. The body counters this with antioxidant systems, including glutathione and superoxide dismutase. But chronic overexposure may overwhelm these defenses. In summary, solar energy exerts profound positive effects by regulating circadian rhythms, hormone balance, vitamin D synthesis, mitochondrial function, and mood stability. At the same time, excessive exposure can cause oxidative damage, immune suppression, and carcinogenesis. The balance between beneficial and harmful effects depends on duration, intensity, timing, and individual susceptibility. Cosmic rays represent one of the most powerful and mysterious forms of cosmic energy interacting with the human body. Unlike sunlight, which is relatively low in energy and largely beneficial in controlled amounts, cosmic rays are extremely high-energy particles that originate from outside the solar system, often from supernova explosions, neutron stars, and other energetic astrophysical phenomena. These particles, primarily protons and atomic nuclei, travel at nearly the speed of light and constantly bombard Earth. Fortunately, Earth's atmosphere and magnetic field act as protective shields. When cosmic rays collide with atoms in the upper atmosphere, they produce secondary particle showers, including muons, neutrons, and electrons. By the time these particles reach ground level, their intensity is greatly reduced, but a small amount of ionizing radiation still penetrates the human body every day. From a biological perspective, ionizing radiation is significant because it has enough energy to remove electrons from atoms and molecules, creating ions. When this occurs inside human tissue, it can break chemical bonds, damage cellular structures, and alter DNA. DNA damage from ionizing radiation may include single-strand breaks, double-strand breaks, or base modifications. If the cell's repair mechanisms fail to correct this damage accurately, mutations can occur. Accumulation of mutations over time increases the risk of cancer. However, the level of cosmic radiation exposure for people living at sea level is generally low and forms part of the natural background radiation to which life has adapted over millions of years. Interestingly, some scientists propose that low levels of background radiation may even stimulate protective biological responses through a concept known as radiation hormesis. This hypothesis suggests that small doses of radiation may activate cellular repair systems, antioxidant defenses, and immune surveillance, thereby enhancing resilience. While this idea remains debated, it highlights that biological systems are dynamic and responsive rather than purely vulnerable. The effects of cosmic rays become more pronounced at higher altitudes. Airline pilots, cabin crew, and individuals living in mountainous regions experience greater exposure due to thinner atmospheric shielding. Studies show that flight crews receive higher annual radiation doses compared to the general population, and some research suggests a slightly increased cancer risk among frequent flyers and astronauts. In space, beyond Earth's magnetosphere, cosmic radiation exposure rises dramatically. Astronauts face significant risks, including increased cancer probability, potential cognitive effects, and damage to the central nervous system. High-energy heavy ions found in galactic cosmic rays can penetrate spacecraft and human tissue, causing complex DNA damage that is difficult for cells to repair. This presents one of the major biological challenges for long-duration space travel to Mars or beyond. On a cellular level, when cosmic radiation interacts with water molecules inside the body, it generates reactive oxygen species. These highly reactive molecules can damage membranes, proteins, and nucleic acids. Oxidative stress caused by excessive radiation may contribute to aging processes by accelerating telomere shortening and mitochondrial dysfunction. However, the body possesses intricate defense systems, including DNA repair enzymes, apoptosis pathways to eliminate severely damaged cells, and antioxidant molecules that neutralize free radicals. Another dimension of cosmic ray interaction involves the nervous system. Some studies involving astronauts have reported visual light flashes when high-energy particles pass through the retina or optic nerve, directly stimulating neural tissue. This phenomenon demonstrates that cosmic particles can interact with sensory systems in measurable ways. Although such effects are rare on Earth's surface, they illustrate the sensitivity of human biology to high-energy cosmic phenomena. There is also research examining possible correlations between cosmic ray intensity and cloud formation, atmospheric ionization, and indirectly, climate patterns. Changes in climate can influence human health through temperature extremes, disease distribution, and food availability, representing an indirect pathway through which cosmic energies may affect humanity. In summary, cosmic rays exert subtle but continuous influence on the human body through ionizing radiation. At typical Earth levels, their impact is minimal and largely managed by natural biological defenses. However, increased exposure at high altitudes or in space can pose significant health risks, including DNA damage, oxidative stress, and cancer development. Cosmic rays illustrate the delicate balance between vulnerability and adaptation that characterizes human interaction with the wider universe. The Earth's geomagnetic field is another major channel through which cosmic energies influence human beings. This magnetic field is generated by the movement of molten iron within Earth's outer core, creating a protective magnetosphere that shields life from harmful solar wind and high-energy charged particles. Without this magnetic barrier, much of the sun's ionizing radiation would directly impact the surface, making life, as we know it, extremely difficult. However, the geomagnetic field is not static. It fluctuates due to solar activity, such as solar flares, coronal mass ejections, and variations in the solar wind. When intense solar emissions collide with Earth's magnetosphere, they cause geomagnetic storms, temporarily disturbing the magnetic environment surrounding the planet. These geomagnetic fluctuations are measurable and can affect satellites, power grids, and communication systems, but their possible influence on the human body has also been studied for decades. The human body is an electrochemical system. Every heartbeat is initiated by electrical impulses generated in the sinoatrial node, and brain activity depends on electrical signaling between neurons. Because biological tissues conduct electricity and generate weak magnetic fields, some researchers propose that external magnetic changes could subtly influence physiological rhythms. One area of research focuses on heart rate variability, which reflects the balance between the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems. Some observational studies have found correlations between geomagnetic storms and reduced heart rate variability, suggesting increased stress load on the cardiovascular system during strong magnetic disturbances. There are also reports indicating a temporary rise in hospital admissions for heart attacks or strokes during periods of intense solar activity, though causation has not been definitively proven and remains an area of ongoing investigation. The nervous system may also respond to geomagnetic variations. The pineal gland, a small endocrine structure in the brain responsible for melatonin production, is sensitive to light and possibly electromagnetic fields. Melatonin regulates sleep cycles, immune function, and antioxidant activity. Some studies suggest that geomagnetic disturbances may suppress melatonin secretion, potentially affecting sleep quality and mood stability. Reduced melatonin levels are associated with insomnia, increased oxidative stress, and mood fluctuations. Although these findings are not universally accepted, they highlight the possibility that geomagnetic conditions may influence neuroendocrine balance in subtle ways. Another interesting concept involves magnetoreception, the ability to detect magnetic fields. While strongly developed in animals such as birds and sea turtles for navigation, humans may possess extremely weak magnetosensory capabilities. Experimental research has shown that human brainwave patterns can change in response to controlled magnetic field rotations under laboratory conditions, suggesting that the brain may register geomagnetic information at a subconscious level. The functional significance of this ability, however, is still unclear. On a psychological level, some researchers have explored whether geomagnetic storms correlate with changes in human behavior, including increased anxiety, irritability, or even collective social unrest. Statistical analyses have reported associations between solar cycles and variations in mood disorders or behavioral patterns, but these correlations are complex and influenced by many confounding variables. It is important to emphasize that geomagnetic fluctuations do not exert dramatic or immediate effects on most individuals. The majority of people experience no noticeable symptoms during solar storms. However, individuals with pre-existing cardiovascular conditions, neurological sensitivity, or disrupted circadian rhythms may be more vulnerable to environmental electromagnetic changes. From a positive perspective, the geomagnetic field plays a crucial protective role by deflecting harmful charged particles and maintaining atmospheric stability. It supports the conditions necessary for life and prevents large-scale radiation damage. Furthermore, stable magnetic environments may help maintain synchronized biological rhythms, indirectly supporting health and well-being. In summary, Earth's geomagnetic field serves both as a shield and as a dynamic interface between cosmic activity and human physiology. Fluctuations caused by solar storms may influence cardiovascular function, nervous system regulation, and hormonal balance in subtle ways, though the exact biological mechanisms remain under scientific exploration. Gravitational forces represent one of the most fundamental cosmic energies influencing all matter in the universe, including the human body. Gravity governs the motion of planets, stars, and galaxies, and on Earth it shapes biological evolution, posture, circulation, and cellular organization. While gravity from distant stars and planets has negligible direct impact on human physiology due to immense distances, the gravitational pull of the moon and the sun plays measurable roles in shaping environmental rhythms on Earth. The moon's gravitational force is responsible for ocean tides, creating cyclical rises and falls in sea levels. Because the human body is composed of approximately 60% water, a common question arises whether lunar gravity significantly influences human internal fluids. Scientifically, the gravitational effect of the moon on an individual human body is extremely small compared to Earth's gravity, and it does not cause fluid shifts similar to ocean tides. However, biological systems operate not only through magnitude, but also through rhythm. Many living organisms exhibit circadian rhythms, meaning biological processes that align with a roughly 29.5-day lunar cycle. Marine species demonstrate clear reproductive synchronization with lunar phases, and certain terrestrial animals show behavioral changes linked to moonlight intensity. In humans, research on lunar influence has produced mixed results. Some studies suggest slight variations in sleep quality, melatonin levels, and dream activity during full moon phases, possibly due to increased nocturnal light exposure rather than gravitational effects. In pre-industrial societies without artificial lighting, moonlight may have influenced nighttime activity patterns, indirectly shaping hormonal cycles. Melatonin secretion is sensitive to light, and brighter nights during a full moon could subtly alter circadian timing. Modern artificial lighting, however, likely reduces this natural lunar influence. There are also investigations into whether lunar cycles affect psychiatric conditions or hospital admissions. While some statistical analyses report small correlations between full moons and changes in mood disorders or emergency visits, other large-scale studies find no consistent evidence. Psychological expectations and cultural beliefs about the full moon may contribute to perceived effects, demonstrating the powerful interaction between cosmic phenomena and human cognition. Beyond lunar cycles, gravitational forces become more significant when examining human physiology in altered gravity environments. Studies conducted in microgravity during space missions reveal how deeply gravity shapes biological function. In the absence of normal gravitational load, astronauts experience muscle atrophy, bone density loss, fluid redistribution toward the upper body, changes in cardiovascular regulation, and alterations in immune function. These changes highlight how Earth's gravitational field has been a constant shaping force in human evolution. Bone cells respond to mechanical stress through remodeling processes, and without gravitational stress, bone resorption exceeds formation. Similarly, the vestibular system in the inner ear relies on gravity to maintain balance and spatial orientation. Prolonged microgravity can disrupt sensory integration, leading to disorientation and motion sickness. Even at sea level, small variations in gravitational forces occur due to planetary alignment and Earth's elliptical orbit around the Sun. These variations are extremely minor and generally undetectable in daily life. However, seasonal changes driven by Earth's tilt and orbit significantly influence sunlight exposure, temperature, and environmental conditions. These seasonal cycles impact immune function, mood regulation, metabolic patterns, and reproductive hormones. Thus, while gravitational shifts themselves may be subtle, their indirect consequences through seasonal variation are profound. On a positive level, Earth's gravity maintains musculoskeletal strength, supports circulatory dynamics by influencing blood pressure gradients, and provides structural stability necessary for life. It ensures that atmospheric gases remain bound to the planet, allowing oxygen availability for respiration. On a negative level, excessive gravitational stress in high acceleration environments, such as during rapid flight maneuvers, can impair blood flow to the brain, leading to loss of consciousness. This demonstrates that both insufficient and excessive gravitational forces challenge human physiology. In summary, gravitational cosmic energy primarily influences humans through Earth's constant gravitational pull and lunar-driven environmental rhythms. While direct lunar gravitational effects on body fluids are minimal, cyclical light exposure and evolutionary adaptation to gravitational stability shape sleep patterns, hormonal balance, and structural health. The study of gravity's influence becomes even clearer when observing the dramatic physiological changes that occur in microgravity, emphasizing how deeply embedded gravitational forces are in human biology. Beyond visible sunlight and common background radiation, the universe continuously emits higher frequency electromagnetic energies, such as X-rays, gamma rays, and other forms of ionizing radiation. These energies originate from powerful cosmic events, including supernova explosions, pulsars, black hole accretion disks, and gamma-ray bursts. Fortunately, Earth's atmosphere acts as a highly effective filter, absorbing most high-frequency radiation before it reaches the surface. The ozone layer, upper atmosphere gases, and magnetosphere collectively block the majority of harmful X-rays and gamma rays, preventing large-scale biological damage. However, small amounts of secondary radiation and atmospheric ionization still occur, contributing to the natural radiation environment in which human life evolved. X-rays and gamma rays possess extremely short wavelengths and very high photon energy. When these photons interact with biological tissue, they can penetrate deeply and directly ionize atoms, leading to molecular instability. Inside cells, this ionization can break chemical bonds in DNA, proteins, and lipids. Double-strand DNA breaks are particularly dangerous because incorrect repair can result in mutations, chromosomal rearrangements, or uncontrolled cell growth. This is the same fundamental mechanism through which medical radiation therapy destroys cancer cells, but in uncontrolled exposure it can also initiate carcinogenesis. On Earth's surface, exposure to cosmic X-rays and gamma rays is minimal due to atmospheric protection. However, during intense solar particle events, especially large solar flares, temporary increases in radiation levels can occur at high altitudes and near polar regions where Earth's magnetic shielding is weaker. Airline crew members flying polar routes may receive slightly elevated radiation doses during such events. Space travelers outside Earth's protective atmosphere are at far greater risk, as high-energy photons and charged particles can penetrate spacecraft hulls and human tissue more easily. Long-term exposure in deep space raises concerns not only about cancer, but also about degenerative tissue effects, cataract formation, and possible cognitive impairment due to radiation-induced inflammation in neural tissue. At the cellular level, exposure to ionizing electromagnetic radiation triggers oxidative stress through the formation of reactive oxygen species. These molecules can damage mitochondria, the energy-producing structures within cells. Mitochondrial dysfunction is associated with aging, neurodegenerative disorders, and chronic inflammatory conditions. The body's defense system includes antioxidants such as glutathione, catalase, and superoxide dismutase, which neutralize free radicals and repair oxidative damage. DNA repair enzymes continuously monitor and correct molecular errors, reflecting the remarkable resilience of biological systems against background cosmic radiation. Interestingly, radiation is not exclusively harmful. Controlled exposure to specific wavelengths has therapeutic applications. Medical X-rays are used for diagnostic imaging, and gamma radiation is used in sterilization and cancer treatment. Low-dose radiation has been studied for its potential to stimulate adaptive cellular responses, though this remains scientifically debated. The principle is that mild stressors may activate protective pathways, increasing cellular resistance to larger stress events. From a broader ecological perspective, cosmic radiation contributes to atmospheric ionization, influencing cloud formation and electrical activity in the atmosphere. Lightning generation and global electric circuits are partly shaped by cosmic ionization processes. These atmospheric dynamics indirectly affect climate systems, which in turn impact human health through temperature regulation, agricultural productivity, and disease patterns. Psychologically, awareness of cosmic radiation and solar storms can also influence human perception of vulnerability in space exploration and technology-dependent societies. Modern civilization relies heavily on satellites and electronic infrastructure that can be disrupted by high-energy solar events. While this is more technological than biological, disruptions in communication and power systems during geomagnetic storms can indirectly affect stress levels, emergency services, and societal stability. In summary, high-frequency cosmic electromagnetic radiation, such as X-rays and gamma rays, has significant potential for biological harm due to its ionizing capacity. Earth's atmosphere and magnetosphere provide essential protection, allowing only minimal exposure at ground level. While low-level background radiation is part of the natural environment and generally well managed by cellular repair systems, increased exposure at high altitudes or in space presents measurable health risks, including DNA damage, oxidative stress, and long-term degenerative effects. Beyond the clearly measurable forms of radiation and gravity, there are subtler cosmic-related energies that operate through Earth's atmospheric and electromagnetic systems, including atmospheric ions, the global electric circuit, and natural resonant frequencies, such as the Schumann resonances. These phenomena are not mystical in origin, but arise from physical interactions between solar radiation, cosmic rays, lightning activity, and Earth's magnetic field. Together, they create a constantly fluctuating electromagnetic environment in which human beings live. Understanding their influence requires recognizing that the human body itself is bioelectrical. Brain activity is measured in electrical oscillations. The heart produces a strong rhythmic electromagnetic field, and cellular communication depends on ion exchange across membranes. Because of this, researchers have explored whether natural atmospheric and electromagnetic patterns may subtly interact with biological rhythms. Atmospheric ions are formed when cosmic rays and solar radiation ionize molecules in the upper atmosphere. This ionization process produces positively and negatively charged air particles. Natural environments such as forests, mountains, waterfalls, and ocean shores tend to contain higher concentrations of negative air ions. Some studies suggest that exposure to negative ions may improve mood, enhance alertness, and reduce symptoms of depression in certain individuals. One proposed mechanism involves the modulation of serotonin levels, as negative air ions may influence serotonin metabolism in the brain. Although results are mixed and not universally conclusive, there is moderate evidence that ion-rich environments can promote a sense of well-being and mental clarity. Conversely, environments with stagnant air, pollution, and excessive positive ion concentration have been associated with fatigue, irritability, and reduced concentration in some observational studies. The global electric circuit is another aspect of cosmic energy interaction. Thunderstorms around the planet continuously generate electrical currents between Earth's surface and the ionosphere. This creates a weak but constant vertical electric field. Human skin and nervous tissue are conductive, and although the electric field strength at ground level is very small, it forms part of the ambient electromagnetic background to which organisms are constantly exposed. Research into how these weak environmental fields influence cellular processes is ongoing. Some laboratory studies show that extremely low-frequency electromagnetic fields can alter calcium ion movement across cell membranes, which may influence neurotransmission and muscle contraction. The Schumann resonances are naturally occurring electromagnetic resonances generated within the cavity formed between Earth's surface and the ionosphere. The fundamental frequency is approximately 7.83 Hz, with higher harmonics above it. Interestingly, this frequency range overlaps with human brainwave patterns, particularly alpha and theta waves associated with relaxation, meditation, and early sleep stages. Because of this overlap, Some researchers hypothesize that the human brain may have evolved in synchronization with these natural background frequencies. Experimental studies have shown that shielding individuals from natural electromagnetic background fields for extended periods can lead to mild disruptions in circadian rhythms and psychological comfort. Though results are variable and not universally accepted, it is important to distinguish between scientifically measurable electromagnetic resonance and speculative claims. While the frequency overlap between Schumann resonances and brain waves is real, direct causal entrainment under natural conditions has not been conclusively demonstrated. However, the possibility that long-term evolutionary exposure to stable planetary frequencies may influence neurophysiological stability remains a subject of interdisciplinary interest. On a positive level, natural electromagnetic environments may contribute to circadian regulation, relaxation responses, and nervous system balance. Time spent in natural settings with exposure to fresh air, sunlight, and Earth surface contact often improves psychological well-being, reduces stress hormone levels, and enhances heart rate variability. Some of these benefits may be explained by reduced artificial electromagnetic noise, increased negative ion exposure, and alignment with natural light cycles rather than by cosmic resonance alone. On a negative level, strong disturbances in the ionosphere caused by solar storms can temporarily alter radio wave propagation and atmospheric electricity. While these changes are usually too subtle to directly harm human physiology, sensitive individuals sometimes report headaches, sleep disturbances, or mood shifts during periods of high geomagnetic activity. Scientific evidence for direct causation is still under investigation, and psychological expectation effects may also play a role. In summary, atmospheric ions, global electric circuits, and Schumann resonances represent indirect channels through which cosmic activity shapes Earth's electromagnetic environment. The human body, being an electrochemical organism, may interact subtly with these background energies. While many claims require cautious interpretation, measurable evidence suggests that natural electromagnetic environments can influence mood, circadian stability, and nervous system regulation to a modest degree. The interaction between cosmic energies and human consciousness represents one of the most complex and often misunderstood areas of discussion. To approach it responsibly, it is important to distinguish between measurable physiological mechanisms and philosophical or spiritual interpretations. From a scientific standpoint, consciousness emerges from electrochemical processes within a brain. Neurons communicate through electrical impulses and neurotransmitter exchange, forming dynamic networks that generate perception, thought, emotion, and self-awareness. Because the brain operates through electrical oscillations and chemical gradients, it is theoretically sensitive to environmental changes in light exposure, electromagnetic conditions, and radiation levels. The most clearly established pathway through which cosmic energy influences consciousness is light. Sunlight directly regulates neurochemistry. Bright natural light stimulates retinal ganglion cells that project to the hypothalamus, influencing circadian rhythms and hormonal secretion. Increased daylight exposure elevates serotonin synthesis, enhancing mood stability, motivation, and cognitive clarity. Conversely, reduced light exposure can lower serotonin and increase melatonin production, contributing to fatigue, depressive symptoms, and cognitive slowing. This mechanism demonstrates a direct link between solar cosmic energy and psychological state. Beyond visible light, geomagnetic activity has been studied for potential associations with mood disorders and collective behavior patterns. Some researchers have explored correlations between solar cycles and fluctuations in rates of anxiety, depression, or even large-scale social unrest. While correlations have been reported in certain datasets, causation remains uncertain. One possible biological pathway involves the autonomic nervous system. Geomagnetic disturbances may subtly affect heart rate variability, which reflects stress adaptability. Reduced heart rate variability is associated with heightened stress reactivity and emotional instability. If geomagnetic storms influence autonomic balance even slightly, vulnerable individuals may experience increased irritability, anxiety, or sleep disruption. However, such effects are generally modest and not universally experienced. Cosmic radiation exposure also has implications for cognitive function, particularly in space environments. Research on astronauts shows that prolonged exposure to high-energy particles may cause neuroinflammation, oxidative stress in brain tissue, and potential cognitive performance decline. Animal studies simulating galactic cosmic radiation exposure suggest possible impacts on memory and learning pathways due to hippocampal sensitivity to oxidative damage. These findings are especially relevant for future deep space missions, but have minimal impact on individuals living under Earth's atmospheric protection. Another dimension involves stress adaptation and resilience. Human physiology evolved under continuous exposure to natural cycles of sunlight, seasonal variation, geomagnetic fluctuation, and background radiation. This long-term adaptation may have shaped hormonal regulation systems, antioxidant defenses, and neuroplasticity. When individuals live in environments disconnected from natural light cycles and dominated by artificial electromagnetic noise, circadian disruption and stress-related disorders become more common. Thus, the absence of natural cosmic rhythms may negatively influence mental health more clearly than subtle cosmic fluctuations themselves. Psychologically, the concept of cosmic connection can also influence consciousness through belief and perception. Humans have always looked to the sky for meaning, guidance, and existential understanding. Awareness of being part of a vast universe can evoke awe, humility, and expanded perspective. Studies in psychology show that experiences of awe reduce inflammatory markers, enhance prosocial behavior, and improve overall well-being. This suggests that cognitive interpretation of cosmic reality can influence neurochemistry and immune function through psychosomatic pathways. In other words, the way humans think about cosmic energy can shape physiological outcomes. Meditation practices often emphasize alignment with natural rhythms, breathing patterns, and environmental awareness. These practices can shift brainwave patterns toward alpha and theta frequencies associated with relaxation and creativity. While not directly caused by cosmic radiation, such states may resonate with natural environmental cycles, promoting nervous system coherence and hormonal balance. On the negative side, heightened anxiety about cosmic threats such as solar storms, asteroid impacts, or radiation exposure can activate chronic stress responses. Persistent activation of the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis increases cortisol levels, suppresses immune function, and disrupts sleep. Thus, psychological perception of cosmic forces can have tangible biological consequences. In summary, cosmic energies influence human consciousness primarily through light-regulated neurochemistry, circadian synchronization, and environmental electromagnetic context. Direct radiation effects on cognition are minimal at Earth's surface, but significant in space. Perhaps most importantly, human interpretation of cosmic connection shapes emotional and physiological responses, demonstrating the deep integration between environment, brain function, and perception. Over millions of years, cosmic energies have not merely influenced human beings temporarily. They have actively shaped the evolutionary development of life on Earth. To understand the final, result-oriented perspective, we must examine how solar radiation, geomagnetic protection, gravitational stability, atmospheric ionization, and background cosmic radiation collectively formed the biological blueprint of humanity. Life evolved under a stable range of solar intensity, atmospheric shielding, and magnetic protection. If solar radiation had been significantly stronger, DNA damage rates would have exceeded repair capacity, preventing complex organisms from surviving. If Earth's magnetic field had been weaker, constant bombardment by charged particles could have stripped the atmosphere and exposed life to lethal radiation. If gravity had been significantly lower or higher, musculoskeletal development, cardiovascular regulation, and cellular fluid balance would have evolved differently or perhaps not supported upright bipedal organisms at all. The human body is therefore not separate from cosmic forces. It is a biological system calibrated by them. From an evolutionary standpoint, Moderate exposure to ultraviolet radiation likely contributed to genetic variation through small-scale mutations, fueling natural selection. Background cosmic radiation introduced a steady, low mutation rate that helped drive biodiversity while remaining within survivable limits. This delicate balance between damage and repair created adaptive resilience. DNA repair enzymes, antioxidant systems, immune surveillance mechanisms, and circadian regulatory genes evolved precisely because of constant environmental radiation and light exposure. In this sense, cosmic energy has acted both as a stressor and as a sculptor of biological sophistication. Solar cycles also influence climate patterns across geological time. Variations in solar output and cosmic ray flux may have contributed to shifts in cloud formation and temperature regulation, indirectly affecting food availability, migration patterns, and survival pressures. These environmental shifts shaped brain development, social cooperation, and technological innovation. Seasonal cycles governed by Earth's tilt and orbit structured reproductive timing, and background cosmic radiation collectively formed the biological blueprint of humanity. Life evolved under a stable range of solar intensity, atmospheric shielding, and magnetic protection. If solar radiation had been significantly stronger, DNA damage rates would have exceeded repair capacity, preventing complex organisms from surviving. If Earth's magnetic field had been weaker, constant bombardment by charged particles could have stripped the atmosphere and exposed life to lethal radiation. If gravity had been significantly lower or higher, musculoskeletal development, cardiovascular regulation, and cellular fluid balance would have evolved differently or perhaps not supported upright bipedal organisms at all. The human body is therefore not separate from cosmic forces. It is a biological system calibrated by them. From an evolutionary standpoint, moderate exposure to ultraviolet radiation likely contributed to genetic variation through small-scale mutations, fueling natural selection. Background cosmic radiation introduced a steady, low mutation rate that helped drive biodiversity while remaining within survivable limits. This delicate balance between damage and repair created adaptive resilience. DNA repair enzymes, antioxidant systems, immune surveillance mechanisms, and circadian regulatory genes evolved precisely because of constant environmental radiation and light exposure. In this sense, cosmic energy has acted both as a stressor and as a sculptor of biological sophistication. Solar cycles also influence climate patterns across geological time. Variations in solar output and cosmic ray flux may have contributed to shifts in cloud formation and temperature regulation, indirectly affecting food availability, migration patterns, and survival pressures. These environmental shifts shaped brain development, social cooperation, and technological innovation. Seasonal cycles governed by Earth's tilt and orbit structured reproductive timing, agricultural practices, and hormonal adaptation. Human endocrine systems, including melatonin and cortisol rhythms, remain deeply synchronized with solar light cycles. This evolutionary alignment means that modern disruption of natural light exposure through artificial illumination and indoor lifestyles can produce measurable health consequences, including sleep disorders, metabolic imbalance, and mood instability. Result-oriented analysis requires separating myth from measurable outcome. The strongest and most scientifically supported cosmic influence on human health is solar radiation through circadian regulation and vitamin D synthesis. Positive results of appropriate sunlight exposure include improved immune function, stronger bone density, enhanced mood stability, optimized hormonal balance, and reduced inflammation. Negative outcomes of excessive exposure include skin cancer risk, premature aging, and oxidative stress. Cosmic radiation at Earth's surface contributes minimally to daily health risk, yet long-term high-altitude or space exposure significantly increases cancer probability and neurodegenerative risk. Geomagnetic fluctuations may influence cardiovascular and nervous system variability in subtle ways, but effects are generally mild and more relevant to vulnerable populations. Atmospheric ions and natural electromagnetic environments may modestly support psychological well-being, particularly when associated with natural outdoor exposure. Gravitational stability remains fundamental for musculoskeletal integrity, circulation, and neurological orientation. The most powerful conclusion is that human health depends on balanced interaction with cosmic forces rather than avoidance of them. Insufficient sunlight, artificial circadian disruption, and disconnection from natural environmental cycles create more widespread health challenges than normal cosmic radiation exposure. The body evolved expecting daily solar input, stable magnetic shielding, agricultural practices, and hormonal adaptation. Human endocrine systems, including melatonin and cortisol rhythms, remain deeply synchronized with solar light cycles. This evolutionary alignment means that modern disruption of natural light exposure through artificial illumination and indoor lifestyles can produce measurable health consequences, including sleep disorders, metabolic imbalance, and mood instability. Result-oriented analysis requires separating myth from measurable outcome. The strongest and most scientifically supported cosmic influence on human health is solar radiation through circadian regulation and vitamin D synthesis. Positive results of appropriate sunlight exposure include improved immune function, stronger bone density, enhanced mood stability, optimized hormonal balance, and reduced inflammation. Negative outcomes of excessive exposure include skin cancer risk, premature aging, and oxidative stress. Cosmic radiation at Earth's surface contributes minimally to daily health risk. Yet long-term high-altitude or space exposure significantly increases cancer probability and neurodegenerative risk. Geomagnetic fluctuations may influence cardiovascular and nervous system variability in subtle ways, but effects are generally mild and more relevant to vulnerable populations. Atmospheric ions and natural electromagnetic environments may modestly support psychological well-being, particularly when associated with natural outdoor exposure. Gravitational stability remains fundamental for musculoskeletal integrity, circulation, and neurological orientation. The most powerful conclusion is that human health depends on balanced interaction with cosmic forces rather than avoidance of them. Insufficient sunlight, artificial circadian disruption, and disconnection from natural environmental cycles create more widespread health challenges than normal cosmic radiation exposure. The body evolved expecting daily solar input, stable magnetic shielding, and consistent gravitational load. When these expected cosmic conditions are respected, physiological systems function optimally. When they're excessively intensified, as in radiation overexposure, or artificially minimized, as in chronic indoor living without natural light, dysfunction emerges. In final result-oriented terms, cosmic energies influence human beings in three primary measurable ways: regulation of biological timing systems, contribution to genetic variation and long-term adaptation, and modulation of environmental conditions that shape health outcomes. Positive effects arise from moderate exposure to sunlight, stable geomagnetic protection, and alignment with natural cycles. Negative effects arise from excessive radiation, extreme geomagnetic disturbance exposure in rare conditions, or prolonged deviation from natural rhythms. The ultimate result is clear. Humans are biologically designed to live in calibrated harmony with cosmic forces. Our physiology is neither dominated by mystical, unseen powers nor isolated from the universe. Instead, it is dynamically integrated within a protective planetary system that filters, balances, and transforms cosmic energy into conditions that sustain life. Understanding this balance allows for practical health strategies such as responsible sunlight exposure, circadian rhythm optimization, environmental awareness, and radiation protection in high-altitude or space contexts. The story of cosmic energy in the human body is therefore not one of fear, but of adaptation, equilibrium, and intelligent coexistence within a vast and energetic universe.